Vancouver Canucks third-round pick Melvin Fernstrom has dominated at the development camp this offseason, and it's showing that this third-round pick might have been the hidden gem in the 2024 draft. And with the Canucks roster shaping up, they still need a puck-moving defenseman, and we're going to break down a free agent that's the perfect fit. We'll get into that later on this episode. Before we start, I just want to give a shout-out to the 3,568 of you guys. We're trying to reach 4,000 by next Sunday. We set the goal of 3,500, and you guys smashed that even before the day that we set it to. So make sure to go down and hit the subscribe button. We'll be here all offseason into next season, giving you updates from around the Canucks. Well, that let's hop straight into the first topic today, which is Melvin Fernstrom was a hidden gem. Now, obviously, if you guys seen our video when he was drafted, Melvin Fernstrom was a third-round pick for the Vancouver Canucks. It was the first pick in the draft for them. He was drafted 93rd overall, right wing, 6 foot, 187 pounds, and he's been having a dominant season in the Swedish Hockey League. Now, when you do look at Fernstrom, he played with Abro HK's junior team in the Swedish Junior League. 45 games played, 31 goals, 32 assists for 63 points. He got the call up to the big Tier 1 Abro HK with Jonathan Lekkerimäki. He played 6 regular season games. Going into the playoffs, he also played all 3 games. Now, when you do take a full deep dive on a guy like Fernstrom, he has been dominant. Born in Sweden, he spent the past 2 seasons thriving under Abro's system as a prolific offensive contributor. Most recently, he led the U20 circuit in goals, 31, and finished 3rd in points with 63 last season. Overall, while wearing the red and black uniform, he's assumed 54 goals, 119 points in 99 games across 3 tiers of hockey, this being U18, U20, and the men's league. Last season saw him slide into the 6 SHL games as an 18-year-old, including all 3 playoff matches where he averaged just under 10 minutes time on ice. This is a super productive season. From a third-round pick, obviously their scouts had a lot of time watching him as they had Jonathan Lekkerimäki playing on the exact same team. But Griffin, what's your thoughts on Fernstrom and just overall looking at how dominant he's been over the past 99 games, putting up this many points at the age of 18?
It's amazing to see that level of production. It's very reminiscent of their other draft pick, Anthony Romani, and like your boy, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, where he's been able to make great things happen on the ice, no matter which team he's playing on, no matter which level. We saw him dominate at each level with the Swedish team, and seemingly for Vancouver's Swedish farm team at this point, with how much talent they've been pulling from that team, including Jonathan Lekkerimäki. I don't doubt that Fernstrom will be another one in that long line of that to come, and I think he's going to develop into a nice player. We've seen how he did in the development camp game, in the blue versus white game, making those setups happen, shining as well, impressing the scouts. Yes, he does have to work on his skating, but that's something that all these prospects are going to have to adjust to moving up each level into the AHL and then into the NHL. It's going to be an adjustment, but I don't doubt that he's going to be able to make it happen. We've seen how he's been able to adjust moving up each level through the Swedish leagues, so I don't doubt he's going to be able to apply that to the North American leagues and eventually make his jump to the NHL. Joining Lekkerimäki on the same line, I think that would be interesting to see, and I think fans of the Canucks and Swedish fans would love to see that too.
And the biggest thing is, obviously, these prospects coming in, no one's certain. You can get a guy in the first round, pick 10, and he might not make the NHL. But obviously, guys sliding this far do need to work on a few things. Obviously, Fernstrom's thing is skating. His skating is below average, but every other aspect of the game has been great. We've seen all the reporters, scouts, anyone talking about Fernstrom in this development camp has said how good of a passer he is, how good of a shot he has, and how he backchecks. His defensive game is improving a lot. So having a guy just working on his skating is something you can do. Obviously, you can't teach someone to be a perfect hockey player, but if there's only one aspect of their game that needs development, then you have a good prospect. Now, when you do look at him, and this is from Elite Prospects 2024 NHL Draft Guide, they said on Fernstrom reads the play away from the puck, anticipates where the pass will come, and he gets just as his puck-carrying teammates execute the play. His shot may not be the most powerful, but he gets it off at the right positions and angles to score. This is just showing the Canucks do have a great development group. They have a great coaching group, or scouting group. And like you said, it seems like Abro is really becoming just kind of the third team for the Vancouver Canucks. We've seen DPD play here, Jonathan Lekkerimäki, who was by far their best player, and Fernstrom coming up, dominating in two different tiers with HC. Seeing this kid develop his game, I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll see him make his way over to Abbotsford, start to dominate on North American ice. It's going to be interesting to see this guy and Jonathan Leckmäki, DPD, Tom Willander, having all this Swedish talent come over is going to be great for the Canucks. And what's your thoughts on next season, Griffin? I know it's a bit of a reach to ask you, but how many goals do you think he can score with Abro this year?
I think it was looking at his jump going from 30 to 30, 32, and 63 total. I think seeing going up to maybe 70 wouldn't be too much of a stretch. Maybe 75 on the optimistic side. But again, it's going to be baby steps. He's going to be moving ever so slightly. But I think going with that jump that we've seen in those 2 seasons, I think that's a massive jump. So who knows? Maybe he goes for 80 and 85. I think this floor is very low for him as far as going in the Swedish league goes. But I think it's going to be when he makes that jump over to North America that we might see those numbers dip a little bit, but that's natural with making that adjustment. But again, I think he's going to work up through the Swedish league very nicely, and he could become one of those star players for Arbro that is going to make it over to Vancouver, with like Jonathan Leckmäki, like eventually Tom Willander and all the other guys, like you said. And I think once that happens, he's going to be having a lot more numbers than we're seeing right now, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how big those numbers get.
And the biggest thing is we're seeing Jonathan Leckmäki join the Vancouver Canucks or the Abbotsford Canucks this next coming season. So he does have big shoes to fill where Leckmäki was so dominant with Abro. What's your guys' thoughts on Fernstrom? Are you excited to see him maybe in the next 2 years make the jump to North America? Let us know down in the comments, but we'll get straight into the third topic today, which is Justin Schultz is the perfect fit. Now, obviously, we've talked about it. We've talked about different positions where the Canucks need to upgrade. Still need a backup goaltender. The third string goaltender is still up in the air. But looking at the defensive group, it is pretty dead set. Obviously, you have guys like Quinn Hughes, Filip Hronek. You have Carson Soucy, Tyler Myers, Derek Forbort, and Vincent Desharnais. But there is one big thing this Canucks team is missing, and that's a puck-moving defenseman, which gets us into why Justin Schultz would be the perfect fit. Now, Justin Schultz has been around for quite some time, starting a season on the Gross Edmonton Oilers in 2012-2013. We've seen him jump around, win 2 cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and most recently playing with the Seattle Kraken. Justin Schultz is 34 years old from BC. Getting this guy in on a cheap contract, he is coming off a $3 million deal. It was a 2-year deal, signed with the Seattle Kraken. At the age of 34, he has slowed down a tiny bit, but getting this guy in as a power play quarterback, a puck-moving defenseman, what's your thoughts on this, Griffin?
I think it would be a great depth signing for Vancouver. We've seen how with all the big extensions, all the big signings that they made, there's not really too much room to go out and get another big star. So again, we said how back and forth, how the only move they really have to make now is those small depth signings and the other smaller ones that they have to sign, like Shilovs as well. So again, we're not going to expect a big name coming in, but if you get a guy who, yes, he is 34, but he is a veteran, he's been there, he's done that, he's been to 2 cups and won 2 cups. So again, he's come from a lot of teams, he's come from a lot of experience. So if you have a guy like that on the 4th defensive pairing, I think that would go well with Juleson, where Juleson played on Vancouver last year, so he has that experience. So I think he would get the edge over Freeman as far as who that line mate would be. And because Juleson is such a bigger guy as far as hitting goes, I think he would pair very nicely with Schultz, so that would be a good tandem to run. And again, this guy isn't going to be one of the top 6 defensemen. He's going to be one of those guys who's just going to hold it down on the back end and make sure that nothing bad happens when that 4th line or 4th defensive pairing is out there until the big guys get back on the ice.
And yeah, the biggest thing is obviously Mark Freeman, a guy like Noah Juleson. These guys are going to come in as your 7th and 8th defenseman. They're going to spend majority of the season scratched, and by scratched I mean just not playing over a lot of these guys unless injuries happen. But bringing in a guy like Schultz over a guy like Mark Freeman, I think would be the perfect fit. If you can get him in for $1 million contract, $950,000 to come close to home. As I said, if you look at the very top, he is from British Columbia. So getting a guy in like this would be good. But what's your guys' thoughts on maybe bringing in Jeff Schultz? Or Justin Schultz? Is there someone else you guys would rather over him? Let us know down in the comments. But speaking in the comments, let's get everyone's favorite topic, which is comment of the day. And the comment of the day comes from JH. They say, I really hope Shilov signs his contract. I like the Canucks being Latvia's team with both Bluger and Shilovs, 2 players beloved in the city. And I couldn't agree more. I think having both these guys sign is going to be awesome. And I say is because Shilovs will end up signing. Having these guys in, having Latvia's team would be awesome. But what's your guys' thoughts on this? Let us know know down in the comments. You could be featured on the next comment of the day like JH did today. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode, so you don't want to miss on that. So maybe hit the bell icon if you want to be notified. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host Griffin. Take care.